35. How many minutes? You have it? Oh.
Then the most popular child star in Hollywood, in Havard. But when production began, it was another rising star, Judy Garland, playing the part. Even after she was cast, there was some confusion for the most appealing way to present Judy as Dorothy. Originally, she was stuck in a long wig and a heavy baby doll makeup. Thankfully, that idea was scrapped. Olivia Adams, the fair maid Marian, is now a different part.
Welcome aboard. At this time, we'd like to ask everyone to please remain seated throughout the show. Please keep all arms, hands, feet, and legs inside the vehicle at all times. Oh, and don't forget to supervise your children. And for the safety of our cast, we ask that you please refrain from the use of flash photography and external video lighting. Now we're taking care of business. Let's talk about me. My name is Carly, and I'll be your guide for this magical journey into the movies. It's the perfect job for me because I love movies. Is everybody ready? Great, because the cameras are ready to roll. Ready when you are, CB. And we are rolling. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Great Movie Ride. Once again, my name is Harley, and on behalf of Disney's Hollywood Studios and Turner Classic Movies, please welcome our host for this one-of-a-kind tour, Robert Osborne.
Thank you. We're ready for Hollywood indeed. What better way to start our journey? From the Old West to the rooftops of London and along the yellow brick road, there really is no place like the movies. One of Hollywood's significant contributions to the world of film was great music. This scene is from one of my favorites, the 1933 Busby Berkeley spectacular, Good Life Parade. Here's one of the most famous of all dance sequences. It's from the 1952 musical classic, Singing in the Rain.
Here's Gene Kelly singing in the rain. Literally.
Here's one of the quintessential Disney musicals, Mary Poppins, starring Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke. This classic earned 13 Academy Award nominations.
Chim Chim Cheree. I love this song. Sing along. Hold on to those wallets and purses, folks. This doesn't look like a very good neighborhood.
Here's the birthplace of the gangster film, the seedy underbelly of Chicago, from The Public Enemy, starring James Cagney. Released in 1931, strict censorship rules were enforced. Public Enemy is a gritty, realistic, and violent look at the world of gangsters of the Depression era.
Isn't it?
Sorry. He's got a point.
Sorry.
I hate it when people talk during the movie.
The horn so everybody knows we're here.
Western films depict the legendary American wild frontier, where cowboys and their loyal steeds maintain order in towns against the untamable wilderness. John Wayne and Clint Eastwood are two of the iconic stars who epitomize this ideal of the stoic gunslinger.
Unless I was partial to trouble or fixing to get myself shot, I'd hightail it out of here. Go right ahead.
The Duke and Clint have made some of the greatest westerns of all times. Somebody's right on the bank. Not on my watch, Pilgrim. Sit tight, folks. I'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. Your guide will return momentarily. Remain seated, please.
Hold it right there, hombre.
Good job, Snake.
Come on, you and she got back.
Oh, yeah? Have a feeling, stranger. Time for the last round.
Reach for the sky!
Please here.
You're under arrest!
Nothing doing, little man.
Get yourself. Maybe the judge will go easy.
I think it's time to send to a concession stand.
Nothing doing. Nobody's sticking my neck in the noose. Ladies and fences.
Riding with me now, so hold on to your horses. Speaking of which, where are the horses? It's time to saddle up and ride. Adios, Tin Horn. Right off into the sunset. Well, the sun sure went down quick, didn't it? So no one's trying to be funny now? Y'all just stay put. What in tarnation is this?
Science fiction has been a staple of classic movies, from Georges Méliès' A Trip to the Moon to George Lucas's Star Wars. In 1979, director Ridley Scott and Sigourney Weaver made audiences believe that in space, no one can hear you scream. This is Aliens.
Scream? Oh, I don't like the sound of that. What's that?
Warning. Remain in your vehicle. The area you are entering is extremely dangerous. Proceed with caution.
The emergency control is now activated. The ship will detonate in time. 10 The option to override. Fire.
What the fan hell was that? It's rearing up again. I sure wish my partner Snake was here. Said Bernard. I said Snake. Not snakes.
Steven Spielberg and George Lucas cemented their status as the blockbuster boys with their first partnership. Here from that legendary collaboration is Harrison Ford as archaeologist Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Snake. Why did it have to be snake? Oh. Or that Mormon is as big as I am. That just ain't fair.
Some of the biggest horror stars of Hollywood have appeared in the ancient story of a cursed Egyptian temple. A priceless jewel that beckons to all, but be warned, the temptation always leads to destruction.
Well, looks like we hit the mother load. I reckon it's time to stake my claim. Ain't nothing more than another ghost town. Takes a lot more than this to spook me. But none of you hombres move along fetching that treasure. Listen, you want a belly full of lead.
I've seen enough movies to know that you really shouldn't even think about trying to steal that jewel.
Halt, unbeliever. Disturb the treasure of the gods, and you shall all pay with your lives.
Not bad for my first movie, huh?
The twist ending. That just goes to show you anything can happen in the movies. Now, let's get on with the show.
Things that go bump in the night have always been a staple of movies. One of the first horror films was a silent short featuring a dancing skeleton, created by the Lumiere brothers in 1897. Wow. It really is a jungle out there. Where are we?
This is the jungle home of one of the most famous movie characters of all, Tarzan. The movie's most popular Tarzan is undoubtedly Johnny Weissmuller, who's sponsored 12 films as the King of the Jungle.
Over here we have Reno Sullivan as Jane and Tarzan sidekick Cheetah, who was portrayed by over a dozen chimpanzee actors throughout the years. How about a big round of applause for Jake, Skippy, Harry, Zippy, Dinky, and all the rest. The jungle has always been the perfect setting for great adventure films. Just think of the opening of Lost Ark, where archaeologist Indiana Jones braves the thick to steal the golden idol. Or the spooky jungle where Arnold Schwarzenegger battles the Predator. Tarzan paved the way with his iconic gate crawl. So I'm a good Rail to the chopper.
Here's Humphrey Bogart in his most famous film role. In 1942, Bogey finally got to spread his wings and romance the beautiful Ingrid Bergman in Casablanca.
Inside of us, we both know you belong with Victor. Always work the thing that keeps him going. That plane needs a grounding. You're not living to the wall. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon, the rest of your life. You'll always have paths. You didn't have it. You lost it until you came to Casablanca. You got it back this time.
In one of his greatest roles, Mickey Mouse as the Sorcerer's Apprentice in Fantasia.
When the film first came out in 1940, Walt Disney promised to add new musical sequences in the future. His nephew Roy kept that promise 60 years later with the release of Fantasia 2000.
Into one of the most beloved and most watched films in movie history, The Wizard of Oz.
Total love of film, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yes, and the Royals lose this round. The Windows at last is dead. Was it you?
No, it was an accident. I didn't kill anybody.
Well, my little pretty, I can cause accidents too.
Oh, rubbish. You have no power here. Be gone. Somebody else has something to do.
Very well. I'll bide my time. But just try to stay out of my way. Just try. I'll get you, my pretty. And your little dog, too.
I wonder how we got out of here. What do you folks think? Which way do we go?
Follow the yellow brick road.
Follow the yellow brick road. No, I didn't think of that. Sing along, folks. You know the words.
Here at Disney's Hollywood Studios and Turner Classic Movies, we hope you've enjoyed our tour through some of my favorite films, but remember, there are many more adventures waiting for you every day on TCM.
We didn't need dialogue, we had faces.
Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet. Step inside!
Start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner.
Is it safe?
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
I'm a man. Well, nobody's perfect. Shut up.
Force will be with you always.
classic movies.
On behalf of Disney's Hollywood Studios and Turner Classic Movies, we thank you for joining us on the great movie ride. Please remain seated until this vehicle comes to a complete stop. Please gather all personal belongings and take small children by the hand. When these doors open, rise dramatically to your feet and make a grand exit to the rear of your vehicle. Oh, and one more thing. When I yell action, don't forget to give thunderous applause for yours truly. Place everybody. And action! Thank you and have a wonderful day here at Disney Hollywood Studios. On behalf of all of us, we'll see you at the movies.